Hello brothers and sisters of YouTube, my name is Joker Fanatic Hughes, and today I bring you, first I'm gonna do my real quick theories about how the new movie's gonna go. Then, I'm gonna just explain some things how things work in The Last Jedi, and why they work better than all the fans complain about. But first, theories about, The Last Jedi. And by the way, not seen the film yet. I'm recording this at 2:51 a.m. after the movie has come out. I have not seen it yet. I can't see it until January 5th. But yeah. I'm having my own theories. I'm guessing that Rey is a clone because the Force in the Dark Cave, I think it didn't lie to her. I think it showed multiple hers on like a manufacturing line, and I feel like the Emperor was just trying to make another Anakin, basically. But failed horribly, of course. Then, of course, we kind of pieced together that C-3PO's going to die. But that's beside the point. I don't know if the Emperor is going to win, if the Jedi are going to win, or if it's just going to be a toss-up. Who knows? Because for all I know, it's up in the air. It's the ending. They can make it however they want. But I think we all hope that it ends good. Sorry. Did a Joker cosplay recently, and Joker from the new 2019. Not doing too well, because I always try to get in character as best as I can, both mentally and physically. Mentally, I did quite well, and started laughing at very inappropriate times, and just really unnerved a lot of people. And then, I also tried to force myself to cough in the way of trying to stop the laugh, and so trying to force it to stop so much while also fueling it and causing myself to cough from that to try to stay in character. And for like half a month after that, every time I laughed I would cough, and now I'm just in the stage of coughing. So hopefully my throat is fixing itself, I hope. And by the way, something you may want to know. Yeah, green. It looks more like a jade blue now, but it was the Joker green back then. So, actually, still looks green to me, so guess it's just my camera. Anyway, but yeah, there's just something I wanted to clear up real quick. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So yeah, that's my theory on that. A little bit of a reason why I'm laying down like this. My left leg has been acting up a lot more recently. I have sciatic nerve pain from my spine all the way down my left leg. It'll just shoot if I'm sitting wrong or sitting on it. And so I kind of lean off to the side so that my leg stops shocking. But it doesn't always help. Sometimes nothing will help. So I gotta try to sit upright as best I can. But just know that I'm kind of going through that, and that might be why I'm changing my seating quite a bit. Anyway, so now on to the main topic of the video. How things work in The Last Jedi. Something many people had problems with are how fighters are able to get under the shields of the ships and destroy them. And destroy either the cannons, the main hangar, or the bridge. So, let me explain this. As you see, when the bullets are hitting, or I'm going to refer to them as bullets because it's easier. When the bullets are hitting the shield, you see that it's a bubble. It's not tight around the ship, It's a bubble. So there's clearly a space in between where fighters can get in. And you might say, well, what's the point in a shield if fighters can just get under it? To which I say, well, you need to be able to get your fighters in and out of your hangars, don't you? You need to be able to get your own ships in and out, be able to bring them in for repairs and refueling if they need, and get right back out into the fight like a NASCAR pit stop. I doubt they actually do that much, if ever. But still, you need to be able to get your fighters in and out. And so that's why the shields would allow for fighters to go in and out of them in that way. And so, basically, with that, of course you're able to get under the shield, of course you're able to do all that. It makes sense when you think about it like that. Next thing. Bombs able to be sent downward. This one irritated me to all high heaven when I heard it. Because people were believing, and by the way, I'm sorry about the video quality, I know it's not the best, but this is running off of an old webcam, so what can you do? But yeah, how the bombs can go downward. So many people said that it was absolutely physically impossible. To which I say, excuse me, what? Okay. You say that since you're in space, there's no way to move it down. Let's go over some basic physics. In space, there is no friction to stop things. Meaning, any force that is applied on an object anywhere will make it continually go unless acted upon by another force. So, if you were to have a ball in space, and you barely poked it, it would go flying in that direction at probably very slow if you just poked it, but it'd just keep going, carrying that momentum forever. Now let's apply that to the bombs. You say there's no way for the bombs to go down. Well, I've got a fair few ways. First, magnets. You can just have the button activate magnets in the ceiling or along a track that just send them down. And thus, once they have gotten that momentum of going down, in space, they won't stop unless something stops them, aka hitting the ship. And then there's also gravity inside of the ship. Because, as you see, the lady is held down against the grate, and the controller drops from the ceiling. So clearly there's there's artificial gravity in the ship. If there's artificial gravity and there's hooks holding, or something holding the bombs on the walls, if that button just releases what's holding those bombs on the walls, the gravity will pull them down on its own, and then once they exit that gravity field, they are in space, and whatever momentum they had will carry on. Meaning if they were falling in the ship, they'll keep falling. Now then, there's also the thought of tracks. You can have them hooked onto tracks that just conveyor belt them down, and again, momentum carries. Or, since they are above a planet and the ship would be lined up to follow the gravity of the planet, the bombs could be pulled by the planetary body and be pulled down onto the dreadnought. I just gave you 4 different scientific ways that could work. And yet, nobody thought of that being a thing at all. You just think it's completely impossible for something to move in a downward motion? What's impossible about that? My hand can do it. I've never understood that complaint. How you say it's impossible for it to go. What? How is it impossible for a bomb to drop in space? Just push it. Find a way to push it. gravity, conveyor belt, dropping hooks with artificial gravity, or the planetary pull. And I guarantee you can find more, easily. Slight thrusters on the bombs. There you go, there's a fifth. It's all too easy to actually think about that one, and I've never seen why anybody has ever had a problem with that. Ever. Why? The next problem. Leia's survival. Great. This one, I get it. There are many misconceptions about space. I get it. Now then. First to address decompression. No. Your body does not instantly explode like it is sealed pasta in the microwave. No. It takes about a minute or so. And please don't quote me on exact times. But yeah, it takes a while. Your body can stay together for a little bit. It doesn't just instantly... It can stay together for a while. And the ice that freezes on her. Yeah, space is cold. Like, duh. How she survives that amount of absolute cold? Again, force powers. You can easily warm yourself with the force. Like, I believe it's been done a few times, using the force to warm your spirit and then warm you in total. And then there is the problem of, as she was being sucked out into space, wouldn't the oxygen in her lungs be sucked out, and then she would just choke to death? For one, that choking to death is not instantaneous. And plus, if you say that she didn't choke at all, people can choke but hold their breath and fight their instincts. When you're choking, you don't always have to be completely vivid with it and be holding your throat and coughing and all that. No. She could have been doing it, but was resisting the natural urges to telegraph it. Plus, before the missile hit, she sensed the missile coming. So she could have locked her throat, just using your muscles to close your throat. And if it was a tight enough seal, it could hold in whatever excess oxygen was in there to give her a little bit longer and to be able to breathe better. As for her being pulled to the ship, this is another thing that I do not know at all why people find this confusing. It's like, is there some belief that in space nothing can move? Because that's false entirely. In fact, everything moves forever until stopped. Like, it's the exact opposite. Things move in space a lot more than you think. But for some reason, it's like, oh, Leia moving through space? Completely impossible. Bombs going down in space? Completely impossible. No. I'm sorry, but no. So, the Leia being pulled. Basically, force pull is one of the most basic force powers, and it's been around for a very, very long time. She could easily force pull herself to the door. Don't see why this is at all even a problem. And if you're going to say, oh, well, after the missile and all that, she should be knocked out and unable to function and yada, yada, yada. Got a real-life story for that one. And this is true. And I can guarantee you, you'll probably find other instances of such happenings a lot. But my brother, he got in a car crash. His car rolled tons and tons and tons of times. He was thrown from the vehicle. And basically, after the crash, which happened because he was trying to avoid an animal on the road, after that crash, he went to a nearby house and asked the residents if he could borrow their phone. They allowed him to borrow their phone, and he called 911 to be able to get him out of there. They sent an ambulance and a tow truck, and my brother waited by the well. He waited there for the ambulance to arrive, just standing there waiting. And then, whenever the ambulance got there, as soon as he saw the ambulance, he collapsed. The man who had been standing there for a half hour, just waiting, collapsed as soon as he saw the ambulance. Just passed out. So, the weird thing is, when he was taken into the hospital and cared for, the doctors said that there should have been absolutely no way that he should have even been able to stand up or be competent after that crash. His legs were fucked. He was completely... He had no memory of any of it. And just... Yeah, he was walking around and completely fine when he should not have physically been able to be fine at all. It's an innate human ability. Whenever you are in an absolute life-threatening moment, you can survive insane things. In fact, I saw one man who had a light post rammed through him, and it was rammed into his chest, and he was broken. It looked like a pizza slice had been taken from right here. Just a whole triangle. And his arm and a sliver of his torso were just hanging off. Completely split open there. And he was perfectly fine taking a selfie. Again, creatures have an innate ability in a super life-threatening situation to be able to be perfectly fine. So, it's not all that unbelievable that life-threatening situation, she's all of a sudden just able to be surviving it and stronger. Because again, human ability. You think she should have been knocked out or anything like that? Again, you can stay conscious when it shouldn't physically be possible. And as for her getting in the airlock, people say that as soon as the door should have opened, all the air should have been sucked out. That's the thing. There's a thing called an airlock. It's 2 doors. Now, she comes through the bridge, touches this door. It opens. She comes in, door closes, the air the air equalizes. And this would be used in an underwater base or in space. But the air equalizes in pressure and it inserts oxygen and all that. And then the other door opens. And that would be what prevents that. And you may say, no, we saw her fly up against the door. To which I say, you saw her fly in. You did not know if there was 2 sets of doors. And she could have been standing up when she pressed her hand against the window, because all you see is her hand press against it. You do not see what position she's in. The pressure may be active in there, and there may be gravity. So, it was probably a double airlock system. So that should explain all of that for anybody who doesn't exactly get it. Next subject. Okay, why Snoke didn't expect death. This should be pretty obvious now that the new movie's coming out. I understand how it probably wasn't obvious back when the movie first came out. But when the movie first came out, technically Snoke only said that he can sense Kylo's intentions. He didn't specify that he could sense against whom. So that works on the movie on its own. But now that we know that the Emperor has been controlling things this whole time, it also means that the Emperor could have been clouding Snoke's mind. Just saying. But yeah. So, upon that very same thought process, well, just the Emperor was clouding his mind. That's all there is to it, really. Or making him believe something that wasn't true. So, I mean, that gets explained away pretty easily. And just because something's explained easily doesn't mean that the explanation doesn't work before you start thinking that. It's like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Why does it equal 4? Because that's math. Just because the explanation's easy does not make it a false explanation. Or a cheap explanation. So next, Luke's trauma and similarity to Vader and how Yoda gets him past his trauma. Okay. Now, I understand that tons of people believe that Luke should be this stalwart hero, always yada blah blah blah, because he was a great guy in The Force Awakens. Or not The Force Awakens, God. In Return of the Jedi. Basically, let me explain his downfall. And his similarity to Vader. Okay. Let's start with Vader, shall we? His mother died. He originally wanted the Force to protect those he loved and to keep them safe. When his mother died, he failed. And so, since he failed, he felt that he needed to do better. That he needed to redeem himself. Well, that didn't exactly pan out. But, basically, I'm trying to keep my mind on track. I've been having mental difficulties lately. Anyway, but yeah. He fails to protect his mother, and so he feels guilty for that, and it acts as a kind of trauma. And then another instance comes up where he wants to protect one he loves, and he fails in trying to, because he believed if he got strong enough in the Force that he could prevent it. He fails, he feels responsible, and so then he isolates himself and just gets filled with regret and remorse, and that's how he lives. So then in Luke's side, Luke is raised on a farm, and most of his life, the two people he loves most of all, and the only people he loves, are his aunt and uncle. Well, then one day, they get killed by the Empire. Building is smoking, bodies are charred on the ground. They have died, the only people he truly loved. And here comes a man who tells him about magical powers that could make him exceedingly powerful and make him godlike in a way. So of course he believes, I can prevent this from ever happening to anyone ever again. Just like Anakin thought if he got more powerful in the Force, he could save those he loved. So Luke immediately is like, I want to learn the ways of the Force, and he's wanting to do it to be able to prevent people in the future from dying. Well, then comes Empire Strikes Back. And basically what happens, he senses people are in danger. He believes that now, since he has a little bit more power in the Force, that he can save them. Well, he fails, but not in any extremely major way. And so, since it's not an extremely major way, no biggie, he'll just go and save him in the next movie. Good. Because he trains, becomes powerful enough, he saves them. He does what he believes, what he originally wanted. Now, after that, the reason that he wanted to save Vader, or the reason that he was so optimistic when it comes to saving Vader, when it came to saving Vader, it wasn't his own failings. Basically, Luke, by my understanding of his psychology, he has an extreme drive to do what's right and to get things done, but he has an extreme problem with failing. He can't accept failure. Or at least nothing that is a long-term failure. And so, he didn't fail. He was intent on bringing somebody up back from their own failures, redeeming them from their failures. Because even though he judges himself for his failures, he still believes that there's a way back from everything if somebody's given help. So, keeping that in mind, that he has the extreme problem with dealing with failure, now, let's imagine he's teaching his Jedi students. He goes to try to kill Kylo. He gets knocked out. When he wakes up, the building is burning in smoke. Dead bodies are all over the floor, potentially charred. He gets flashbacks to the trauma of losing his family, the only ones he had ever loved. He gets that trauma. He breaks down. He can't handle it. The trauma on top of the inability to accept failure. All of that compounding on him using the Force, the very thing he thought could prevent everything from going wrong, has now caused it. He doesn't know what to trust. He doesn't know what to think. The very thing that was supposed to save him has now brought him even worse heartbreak. So he cuts himself off from it. He sees himself as a failure, and he thinks that nothing he could ever do was right. So he leaves. He thinks it's better off with him out of the picture. But, reason he leaves a map. The reason he leaves a map is because he believes everybody can be redeemed if given the proper help. Thus, the map is for somebody to come and help him, but by the time they get there, it's already too late. So that's why his mentality is like that. And then upon studying, he realizes that the Jedi failed as well. But on his studies, he doesn't see the Jedi and him failing as just meaning that failure is common. He sees it as meaning that his guilt over failure and his need to be gone from the rest of the world should also be the Jedi's. And that's why he feels that the Jedi need to end. Because of his own failures being projected onto the Jedi Order. And so it all really comes together when you think about the trauma that he went through when he was younger, how he put his faith in being able to stop it on the Force, and then when that lets him down, he has nothing left to believe in. He put all of his faith into the Force, and then it fails him. And he feels guilty. Everybody saw him as a legend, and he let them down. It makes a lot of sense. But then, you may say, then why does he become a hero at the end? Anybody can be redeemed with the proper help. Yoda. He shows Luke, or explains to him, failure is the best teacher. Just because you fail doesn't mean you should give up and leave. Learn from your failures, pick yourself back up, and keep going. That's basically the lesson Yoda tries to teach him. That you shouldn't feel responsible. Just learn from it and act differently next time. That's all we can ever do. And so, with that, Yoda is basically saying, hey, I failed too. I failed horribly. But you still look at me as one of the best guys in history. So whose view is right? Mine of me judging myself, or yours of the best person in history? It's all up to opinion. And Luke, you are amazing. Just be the Jedi you're meant to be. It's basically what Yoda does. It's like, hey, I failed too. Do you see me weeping? Get up. Keep going. So, of course, Luke gets back up after that. He keeps going. He does the Force projection and everything like that. That's why it all works. So I've just explained how that all works to you. Like, do you need more explanations? Because I've given you a fair bit. Both the psychological analysis of how Luke would become how he was, and the difference between Luke and Vader. Vader isolated himself, had regret, had judgment, but he also had anger with himself over everything that happened. Luke doesn't have anger with himself. He just has judgment and regret. He doesn't hate himself for it. He kind of does, but in a non-violent way. And really, they go through the same story. So, I mean, come on. So, I hope that explains anything that you may be questioning about The Last Jedi, because, again, with the whole gravity one, I don't know why anybody would even think that things can't move in a place where nothing stops them from moving. But anyway. I think that's all my points covered. If you'd like to bring up any more points in the comments, go right ahead. But I think I covered all the ones that I can think of. Oh, some other complaint that I heard about The Last Jedi is that DJ was conveniently at the casino. To which I say, in a town where the rich live rich, there is no middle class, and the rest are poor or slaves, there will be the poorest of the poor living as thieves off of the richest of the rich. You may say, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but we've never seen that before in cinema. Aladdin. Fucking Aladdin. Is it not the same principle? Big city. Tons of riches, tons of rich people, and very poor people. Somebody decides to be a thief because they're too poor to be able to afford anything. They try to make a living from thieving, and they get very good at it. It makes sense. It's like looking for a bank robber in a bank. Now, I don't suggest you just go into a bank and ask for a bank robber, but you get the idea. It's where you expect to find them, isn't it? So, yeah. I don't see why anybody was questioning the luck of that, because everything in any story ever is convenience. Heck, even in real life, there's tons of conveniences, coincidences that are just too perfect to ignore. And yet we do. So, you know. And by the way, before you think it, no, I'm not thinking that The Last Jedi is a perfect movie. To see the bad parts in The Last Jedi, literally just look at the throne room scene. Look at the combat in that. And if you need a full-on breakdown by somebody who's actually studied in it, and maybe has a college degree in it, go look up Shadiversity. He has an autopsy of The Last Jedi and Revenge of the Sith, both of the battle scenes. Did you know that the Revenge of the Sith scene is actually more realistic with all its flips and moves than The Last Jedi is with none of that? Yeah. Look it up. It really is a thing. So, with all that out of the way, I leave you to do your studies, and next time, please don't assume that things can't move in space. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, my name is Joke Fanatic U. Or wait, no. How do I do my outro? Yeah, duh. That's all the time I have for this episode, brothers and sisters of YouTube. If you like the video, please like, comment, and or subscribe, and definitely share the video with your friends. And that's Joke Fanatic U's signing out.